Tomorrow morning, an alarm will go off. You'll silence it in the dark and drag yourself towards a place you didn't choose to do something a part of you would rather not do. For a third of your waking life, you'll call it work, and you'll assume it's just what humans do. But for 99.9% of human history, nobody worked. Not the way you mean it. No alarms, no boss, no clock, no Monday. The hunter-gatherers, your body was built from worked about 15 hours a week and called the rest of their time their own. The 40-hour week, the career, the weekend you're already counting down to, all of it is far nearer than you think. And the real reason you work changes everything you think you know about your time, your worth, and what it means to be free. We have all been told the same story, that early human life was a desperate, exhausting grind. Nasty, brutish, and short. That we invented work to escape starvation, and every hour of labor since has been progress. It's a clean story, but it's also wrong. In 1966, an anthropologist called Richard Lee went to live with Yuhansi, hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari Desert. He didn't guess at their lives. He counted. He weighed their food and timed their foraging. The average adult spent about 15 hours a week getting food, 2 to 3 hours a day. The rest of their waking life was spent resting, talking, visiting, making music, doing nothing in particular. In 1972, the anthropologist Marshall Sholin gave this a name, the original affluent society. Not affluent because they had much, but because they wanted little and they got it easily. By the one measure that actually matters, free time, they were richer than you are. So, if humans worked this little for hundreds of thousands of years, what happened? What happened was a field. About 1200 years ago, humans started planting grain, and farming rewards exactly one thing above all else. More hours, a wheat field doesn't care if you're tired. For the first time, a person could produce more than they needed, and for the first time, someone else could take it. Work was born, and so was the boss. But here's the part that should unsettle you. If work was invented to produce things, why do we keep on doing it when it produces nothing? In 1933, a researcher called Mary Jehoda studied an Austrian town called Marienthal. The only factory had closed. Everyone was unemployed, but they still received just enough welfare to survive. They had food, they had time, they should have been free. Instead, the town fell apart. Not from hunger, from the loss of work itself. People stopped wearing watches. They lost track of the days. They walked more slowly across the town square. Jehoda literally stood there and timed them. With nothing structuring their hours, time itself dissolved, and so did their sense of who they were. Work wasn't just giving them money, it was giving them identity, a reason to stand up in the morning. Now jump to 2018. An anthropologist called David Graeber published a study at London School of Economics with a blunt title, Bullshit Jobs. He'd surveyed thousands of workers and up to 40% secretly believed their own job was completely pointless. That if it vanished overnight, nothing of value would be lost. And yet, they kept showing up. They kept looking busy. They felt they had to. Put those together and you will get something strange. We can't stand to have our work taken from us, and we can't admit when our work means nothing. Because somewhere along the way, work stopped being what we produce and started being what we are. So what did this to us? What turned a 15-hour week into a 40-hour identity? The answer is simpler than you think. Not greed, not capitalism, not even agriculture. Clocks. Before the clocks, time was just something the sun did. You just worked when there was light and you stopped when there wasn't. Then, in the 1300s, mechanical clocks appeared in monasteries and town squares. And for the first time, the time became something you could measure. And anything you can measure, you can sell. The factory did the rest. In the Industrial Revolution, people stopped being paid for what they made and started being paid by their hours. You didn't sell bread or clothes anymore. You sold time. You clocked in, you clocked out. In 1926, Henry Ford fixed the number at 5 days, 40 hours, and the whole world quietly agreed this was simply how much a human should work. And here's the cruel joke. In 1930, the economist John Maynard Keynes looked at how fast we were getting more productive and predicted that right about now, his grandchildren would work around 15 hours a week, the same as hunter-gatherers. He was right about the productivity. We just kept the hours. We poured every gain back into producing more, owning more, and working exactly as much as before. And now the clock doesn't even stay at the office. It lives in our pocket, glowing at 11 p.m. with one more email. And there's a fossil of all this buried in language itself. In French and Spanish, the word for work is travail or trabajo, and it comes from Latin tripalium. The tripalium was not a tool. It was a three-staked Roman instrument of torture. The word we use for our daily labor is, quite literally, the name of the device built to inflict pain. Our ancestors knew something about work that we have spent centuries trying to forget. So here we are, working more than people we evolved from, at jobs many of us privately believe are pointless, measured by a clock that never stops, exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fit. And we have a name for that exhaustion. We call it burnout. We call it laziness. We tell people to manage their time better, hustle harder, and be grateful that they have a job at all. We treat this fatigue like a personal failure. But what if it isn't? What if it's not you breaking down, but your body built across a million years for a few hours of work and a tribe to share it with, remembering what it was for and finding nothing in your entire week that lets it? Tomorrow morning, the alarm will go off. You'll reach over in the dark and silence it. And now you know the dread you feel in that exact moment isn't weakness. It isn't laziness. It's older than that. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors woke with the sun, did a few hours of work that fed the people they love, and spent the rest of their life simply living. They worked to live. Somewhere along the way, we built clocks and bosses and a word for work borrowed from a tortured device. And we started living to work. The alarm will still ring tomorrow, but maybe you'll hear it a little differently. Not as a sound of what you owe, but as a question your body has been asking for 10,000 years. Is this really what we are for?